What's up, Tim Sykes here. I hope you had a good day. Wanted to review a lot of volatile stocks and the lessons. Focus on the biggest percent gainers every day and learn the predictable patterns. I get so many questions of people asking me, what about this stock? What about that one? And most of the stocks people bring to me are just random stocks with random patterns. They're not big percent gainers. They're really not going to do much. I don't know what some random stock with some random pattern is going to do. I do know with a high degree of probability what, my patterns are going to do. So it's your job watching this to learn your favorite patterns and then utilize them and refine them. And, understand that you can go long, you can go short, you can hold for a minute, you can hold for an hour, you can hold for a day. You're in control. That's what I love about trading. Leave a comment actually underneath this video saying, I am in control. 4 words, and say it out loud if that helps you understand that it's true. I get so many people like with so many misconceptions like, oh, I'm stuck in this stock. Oh, I have to hold it long term. No, you don't. Use the volatility to your advantage and remember to take profits along the way. And also, we're just a few days away. I'm giving an all day live training just a few days from now. I'm going to post a link to join my market mastery. It's a one-time fee, and you can join in on 12 live all-day events over the course of the year. I do one a month. This next one is coming up on Friday, so very excited, about that. And then I'm also going to post another link, just one other link, and this is a free broadcast of my favorite pattern. Called Supernovas. You might have seen it. You might not have. Watched it again if you haven't. Um, or if you have, it doesn't even matter. Like, you need so much practice learning these stocks. So even if you're not trading, even if you are trading with a small account, experience it all, take it all in, remember the lessons. Today's lessons, before I even get to me, let me just give props to a few students. D Trader made 1189 and Tony made 4,000. They both banked on my Supernova play, which was this MFH. Very choppy. Yesterday it went from the 2s to the 4s and back down to 3. Today I picked it in the 3s and it went all the way to 5, back down to the 3s, then up to 4. This is very choppy. I'll go over that in a second. But I love that these students sold into strength. And that's what you have to learn to do. That's the whole gist of this video. And really, all my teaching, sell into strength. Don't just hold and hope. Don't think that this company is the next Microsoft or Apple, because it never is. Excuse me. The way that I made money today, nearly 2 grand, I traded ZEST, VYST, HTBX. I forgot to even tweet BOXL because there's just too many stocks. But I cut losses on 2 plays too, XELA and OPTI. So I'm not right 100% of the time, but I take profits into strength. And on Zest, I sold way too soon. The thing spiked another 40 cents. Perfect, perfect, perfect. This is a pattern, by the way, before I forget to highlight Zest. This is an absolutely perfect multi-month breakout here at 4. And I had it, and I, was patient with it overnight, as patient as I could be, but it didn't really do much this morning at the open, so I sold it for minimal gains. And then what time did it start spiking? Like 10 a.m.? Yeah, 9:55. I sold into this. It's kind of funny what happens sometimes. But again, some plays I'll do better than others. VYST and HTBX and BOXL I sold better. And I made roughly 2 grand. And my losses, people are like, oh, you have 2 losses in a row. What are you going to do? Nothing. I'm going to accept it. I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to respect, my rule number 1 about cutting losses quickly. I don't mind small losses. And on both of these, had I held longer, the losses would have been bigger. So it's good to review your losses, and it's good to look back after you exit and say, what could you have done better? XELA, I was buying it on one of these bounces, and it put in a morning high at 72 cents. It did break out to like 75, but then it had trouble again at 72, and then trouble at 72. So this is, for all intents and purposes, like a triple top. This is why some people say like, oh, Tim, I don't need to, join your class. I'm just going to buy breakouts. I get it. Technical analysis 101. Well, this was a breakout here at 75, and how'd you do? If you bought it at 73, 74, 75, you would not have seen those prices again. So you have to understand a little more than technical analysis. This isn't as simple as you want it to be. But frankly, I was going for the breakout here in the afternoon. I was buying it at like 69 ish, and I thought it could break 72, and it couldn't. But this is another reason why you don't just buy high. OPTI, my other loss, I broke my rule and I bought the breakout because I thought this breakout was meaningful, and this turned out to be a fake out too. So I'm not always going to be right. Sometimes I break my own rules. Sometimes I bend them because sometimes I would be rewarded. If this were a market from June, I would probably be rewarded on this breakout on OPTI. But if you've been watching my videos, July is a different market than June, and you have to adapt. So a little under 2 grand on the day for me, but what 66,000, for the month, and year to date now 573,000. So I'm having a pretty good year, even with my losses. So many people cannot take small losses. It's like a stubborn thing. It's like an ego thing. Somebody commented under one of my tweets. Where was it? Trading Soldier said, took a lot of years of stubbornness to listen to that one. Just, this is why it's my rule number one. Okay. And understand, you are always in control. It's up to you. If you're trading a liquid volatile stock and you're buying the breakout or whatever, you can get out. Okay. BOXL was my winner this morning. They won a school contract. This is a former runner, and I was buying it on this spike. This is a recent runner going back, from under $1 up to $4. And I thought that this was the beginning of a potential respike. But I also knew that it had big problems here at 325 and here at 330. So I said, you know what? If it can't get there, then I'm not going to give it more time. And sure enough, it didn't. So I sold, and that was my best trade of the day, pre-market. Usually I don't trade pre-market, but sometimes I do. This stock had news pre-market, and I bought and sold it, and I made roughly $1,000. It's tanking after hours on an offering. So understand this too. It's not just about learning from your successful trades. Like, yeah, I recognize that it couldn't get to the previous highs, so I sold it pretty well into strength. But even if it did, let's say it was closing at 310 or 320, I still wouldn't have held it overnight because I know that they need cash. And sure enough, they just did an offering to try to raise cash. So this is a good lesson for anybody who's new to this world. They'll gladly announce positive news, like, look at our new contract in the morning, and then just a few hours later, by the way, we need money, and the stock drops even lower than where it was before the contract. Okay. You can complain about it, you can whine about it, you can whatever about it, but that's the reality, and you have to accept it, and you have to expect it more than just accepting. Learn to predict it. Some people were like, Tim, why were you out of BOXL so much? Why were you out so quickly? Because it could not break the previous highs, and I don't trust any of these companies. 99% of people watching this video trust these companies. You think that these are good people and good quality products, and you listen to, promoters on Twitter who are getting paid to promote these stocks. You guys don't even realize it. There are promoters everywhere on social media these days. And, they probably should put a disclaimer that they're getting paid, but then they'll just say, oh, Twitter's too short for disclaimers. And it's very questionable and it's very shady. And you just have to expect the worst. Okay. One other stock I want to talk about here, KODK. Okay. This was a fantastic short squeeze. You don't just have to be aware of promoters, and you don't just have to accept it and expect it. You have to be aware of short sellers. There's two groups of, people who are kind of lying, misleading, deceiving, whatever you want to call it, but you can use their deceptions and their games to your benefit. So KODK, Kodak, right? Like, they had some good news. They went supernova a few years ago too. This isn't the first time that they went supernova in any one day. And again, please watch this video. I get so many people ask me, what does supernova mean? I'm going to post a link to this. This is free. This is a free presentation. It took me several months to put together because I want you to understand these patterns, and I want you to understand what a supernova is. So when I say it, you should be like, oh, okay. So KODK went supernova, up 200% on the day. You go back a few years, once upon a time, it did this too when they used to announce Kodak coin, which was their, attempted coin, which just failed completely. But now they're announcing, some funding and some financing, and sometimes getting money can be a good thing. But the reason why it spiked from the sixes to the 11s, not because the news was so good. So many people were like, is this really worth it? I mean, at the peak, it was up 300%. No, it was short sellers. Short sellers were getting squeezed. And I saw a bunch of, popular short sellers who, many of them used to be on Profitly, but they got off Profitly because they don't want to show all trades. They only want to show month-end statements, and they only want to show big gains. They don't want to actually show, the percentages they make. I can't help it, but I laugh at some of these people, like even on their YouTube videos, like in the thumbnail. It's like, I made 30 grand in the day, and everyone's like, wow, I want to make 30 grand in the day. But then you ask for position size, they either don't answer you, delete your comment, or block you. Because if they actually showed their percentage gain, it'd be like, I made 0.2% today. And it's a joke because they're just using like $1 million to short. And again, don't try to change them. They're not going to. Don't try to rip on them. Just laugh and say thank you. Just like I do with like the promoters, the promoters who pump these piece of crap companies up and they say to the moon. Just thank them because they create all this volatility that opens up opportunity. KODK, so many big short sellers were shorting it in here. It had spiked from the sixes to the sevens, come down, and then all in here, in the mid sevens and then the mid eights. I saw a bunch of short seller comments saying this is overvalued. It's going to come down. Well, it did come down, except it had another $3 a share to go. And those same short sellers just kept averaging up, and they might have eked out some small gains by the end of the day because it did come down. But their timing was all off, and anybody who listens to these short sellers just gets wrecked. Like, if you're betting against this stock here in the sevens or eights, and eventually it comes down back to the sevens, like, are you going to risk losing $2, $3, $4 a share just to make like 50 cents a share? No. That's terrible risk reward. And you don't even know if it's going to top here. If this had been in June's market, this could have gone to 15 or 20. So please, just laugh at the short sellers and laugh at the promoters, but also, give them a little pat on the back, give them a little like, a little fake social media love, because they're creating all this volatility. And props to so many students who banked on KODK on the way up. It's just absolutely amazing. Also, MARA, that was a promoted stock. This was a Bitcoin play, but it was also promoted. And over the past day, it's gone from the low ones to the high ones and back down. And the promoter said specifically that the $2 a share was the goal. It's not a coincidence that it did get to $2 for 1 minute. 1 minute. And then it could never get there again. So, I don't know what the contract says with these promoters and the people who pay them and stuff like that, but I'm sure that, this was meaningful contractually for them because, like, the contract says to get the stock to $2 a share. And sure enough, it does for 1 minute. So I just laugh at it, And again, I'm not against the short sellers. I'm not against the promoters. I'm grateful for all the opportunity, for all the volatility that they create. Without the promoters, without the short sellers, you don't have these giant spikes that you can trade off of. And that's why I bring them up. But I also want you to be aware, okay? Because people think Kodak is going up because of how good the news is. No, it's going up because early shorts got squeezed. And a lot of people who try to follow these big lying short sellers get crushed. When short sellers get screwed and they squeeze each other out, they have to buy to cover, pushing the price up even more. MARA, again, I don't know these promoters personally. I just see their tactics. I've been seeing their tactics for 20 plus years. So when I see this thing spiking like this and I see them all coordinating the pump, you just have to kind of smirk. But be grateful for them because these promoters are better than the short sellers at spiking stocks. Short squeezes are kind of tough to predict. You don't know if the shorts are really going to get squeezed or if it's just like chasing. So just be grateful. And, the gist is when you have these run ups, if you understand how the game works, whether it's a short squeeze or whether it's promoters. And by the way, just use Stocks to Trade, the tool Breaking News, STT Breaking News. They alert all the best promoters and pumps these days. You just have one tool, you have it so easy, it's unbelievable. But when you see these run ups, start to connect the dots. Understand, why is this short squeezing? Why is this, being promoted? And look at how it ends, because it's very fleeting. So you must sell into strength. This is why I must de-brainwash so many people. Like when I say, like, this company is a blatant pump, and they're like, but what do you think about the revenue figures? I'm like, it's a pump, I don't care. They're like, but what do you think about this creative director who joined? It's a pump, I don't care. Just let me just reinforce this on GNUS, because GNUS has the most people sucked in, from the 6s, 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s. This was promoted, okay? Anybody who bought and sold this into strength, good job. I was one of them. I was buying this under $1 a share, and I underestimated the promoters. But so many people are still stuck in this because they believe in, Schwarzenegger's involved. They hired these good creative directors. The CEO is hyping up all their Cartoon Networks and all their new products. And people are thinking like this is the next Marvel. And it's all just one big marketing scheme promotion, okay? There's still people holding this. I get messages daily. They're down 60, 70, 80, 90%. If you understand that these companies are all pumps and they're all probably going to fail and their stocks will likely all go to zero or close to it, it's so much easier to just sell into strength and not worry if you sell too soon. I sold way too soon. This stock went up 1,000% after I sold, but I was still profitable on it. So I might not always time things perfectly, and you won't always time things perfectly. But if you have the right mindset, you can sell into strength. And props to all the short sellers too. I think Jack Kellogg, one of my newest challenge students, who's really succeeding. He's over 740,000 in profits now. He made, I think, another $2,000 today and like $3,000 yesterday. But he shorted this one big. I think he made like 40 or 50 grand on this. And the same thing with CYDY. So many people ask me, like, what about their medicine for coronavirus? You don't believe in it? I'm like, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I don't care. What I care is that this was promoted, and it's showing the perfect signs of promoted price action. So if you understand that, then you'll have seen this, free presentation. That's why I have to give you this presentation. That's why I want you to join me on Friday, so that you understand specifically what I'm looking at every single day. But first, I just got to give props to everybody who's tweeting me. Thank you. Doc Bryan made $1,000 today. Zila on XELA sold into strength at 74 cents. Just a small profit, but learn to sell into strength. Scott, CAPR, sold in the 11s. By the way, CAPR is also promoted heavily. And what is it doing? Late day and after hours, getting crushed from 12 down to the 8s. No news. But, when a stock gets pumped, it oftentimes comes down in a hurry. Who knows what's going on? Garrett banked on the MFH, and he sold before my supernova alert. I love that. That's what I want. My alerts are real-time reminders of these patterns. I want you learning on your own. Kevin, look at this. He made 7% on Zest, sold it a little too soon, but kept going. Fantastic. Family Guy shorted OCGN. This was a short squeeze and a promotion. He made 7%. There was D Trader and Tony. They were making a little bit of money. Scott made some money on OCGN. Tony made some money on INNO. I didn't even see that one. There's too many plays. Whoops, sorry. Too many videos, too many stocks, too many students. It's a good problem to have. INNO. Oh, I guess he was banking on that one. Cool. Whatever works. Deanna likes the Stocks to Trade community. I love that because this is a community. That's what I want you to understand. Like, we're not going anywhere here. In hot markets and cold markets, the most money that you're going to make is over the long run. Chow Jun Hang, nice $100 profit. SYPR and OCGN. Fantastic. Kevin also banked 20% on SYPR. I didn't even get to trade SYPR. This was a nice runner. But what did you have to do? You had to sell into strength, because look at it. When it fails quickly. A lot of newbies are just not ready to see how quickly these stocks fail. So understand, in the beginning of this video, I said leave a comment and say I am in control, because you are. But in order to really be in control, you have to study up, and you have to, recognize that when these things turn, they turn very quickly. CAPR is another example. It's a higher price example. But when this thing, look, it's going up so nicely in the 11s. Oh, I guess at the 12s. I'm sure some newbies were still holding on here in the 11s, being like, oh, tomorrow it'll be good again. It's uptrending. And then whoosh, they lose 30% of their money inside of an hour. So just cut losses quickly, sell into strength. And, go